Welcome back to this latest episode of Japan's Top Business Interviews. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, the president of Dale Carnegie Training Tokyo, Japan, and my special guest today is an old friend of mine, Yasunori Takeuchi, who is the head of the Standard Chartered Bank here in Japan. Takeuchi-san, welcome. Good to see you again.
Hi, Greg. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
It's a great honor.
Me. You know, you've had a long career in many areas, but let's get back to what are some early days in your career? Where did you start? How did you get to become the head of Standard Chartered Bank in Japan?
I started my career back in 1984, so it's been 37 years, right. Amazingly. And all throughout my career is financial service, starting from the Japanese bank. And actually, at that time, banking industry is highly reputable. The last 3-4 decades, society changed, business environment changed, and my career is very bumpy. And after 12 years serving for Japanese bank, which
bank were you with?
Long-term
credit bank,
Japan.
I worked in Shinsei, which is the takeover from the long-term credit banks. We worked in the same organization.
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, I worked at LTCB, and, LTCB went under during the Japanese financial crisis, late 90s. And then it changed to Shinsei Bank, which you worked for.
Yeah, I did.
So after LTCB, my last position was in Hong Kong. It was before handover. Sovereignty from UK to China. So it was a very dynamic period. I moved on to the foreign financial institutions in Hong Kong. It was a very dynamic market, totally different environments and the business opportunity outside Japan. So I wanted to explore more career experience and the business opportunity.
Very fast moving in Hong Kong compared to Japan, I think.
Yes, two very extreme. Very stable, very dynamic.
Yeah.
But then I moved to a foreign firm in Hong Kong. Then Asia financial crisis came in.
And so which was the firm you joined in Hong Kong?
Credit Suisse.
Credit Suisse, right?
Yeah.
So you've been with LTCB. You've been based in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. LTCB goes bankrupt to become Shinsei, and then you join a Credit Suisse, which is a huge foreign enterprise. So well done for doing that.
No, actually, I moved on before.
You could see it coming. You could anticipate. Here comes trouble.
No. As I said, I wanted to explore.
I see.
New opportunity.
Okay.
At that time, Credit Suisse was called the CS First Boston, which is a more U.S. investment bank, and the very active, very creative.
Haven't heard that name for a long time. Actually, when you say the name, I'm going, that's right. I remember that bank.
Yeah. So again, then Asian crisis came in, and the Asia financial market became turmoil. A lot of delinquency, bankruptcy of the portfolio, and the total restructuring coming in. Then I came back to Japan to join another foreign bank called the WestLB. It's a German bank.
German bank, yeah.
German, half state-owned bank. Germany.
And you were the head of the WestLB in Tokyo, or?
No, I was a senior relationship manager.
Right. Okay.
And kind of a right-hand side business leader, just below CEO.
Right.
Yeah. So I was leading the small team, managing the client portfolio and the originating a business. And the WestLB is state-owned bank, and after EU created. And there were a number of the EU directives which prohibit the sovereign support to the financial institutions for the fair competition across the EU market. So Landesbank, there are many Landesbank in Germany. They lost highest rating one by one, and they need to restructure, especially for overseas operation like that. Then I had to move on because of the shrinking operation. And I joined another foreign bank, ABN Amro.
Another famous bank, yeah.
Yeah, Dutch bank,
Yep.
one of the leading European bank.
Yep.
They had a very long history and the wide network across Asia. I was managing director and the head of client business. And the business model of ABN AMRO was quite network driven. So because they have a very wide network from Japan to Pakistan down to the Australia, across Asia Pacific. So we cover most of the multinational corporation who are active in investment and trade as such. So
And what was your position at ABN AMRO? What was your role there?
managing director.
So you're running the bank
Yes.
this time. So this is your first big role as the leader,
Yes.
I guess, for a Dutch bank.
Yes.
So you've worked in Japan, long-term credit bank, long-established bank, very typical Japanese
Yes.
bank, I would say. Then you go to dynamic Hong Kong and join Credit Suisse, which is, again, international bank. And you've had these stages with WLB, and you've had different cultures in
Yes.
those different banks. Now, what were some of the things you noticed that were challenging for you as a leader to adjust to these different styles each bank had in terms of leadership? You lead in a certain way in Japan. I'm sure you had to lead in a different way in Hong Kong. And then you change banks. I'm sure they've got a different style. What were some of the challenges to be leading in these different cultures?
Well, after I moved out from typical Japanese organization, I accumulated the experience. Actually, learning from experience is very powerful. And the interaction with the non-Japanese based in Hong Kong. Actually, even working in LTCB Hong Kong, I have many local staff, non-Japanese staff. So that was a first encounter for me, how to deal with the other culture background colleagues or like that.
So what was challenging about that? As someone brought up in Japan, educated in Japan, leading in Japan, now you've got to lead a very diverse group, I guess. What was challenging for you to do that?
First, culture boundary I experienced. At that time, Hong Kong local staff is relatively short-sighted on their compensation. So they are very aggressive, demanding, and also just before handover, they are a little bit worried about the post-handover. So I lost my staff one by one, going to Canada, Australia to get the passport. So the job market is very competitive. I need to hire a replacement, and the current staff is asking a high salary increase or like that, which is totally different from the typical.
Japan.
Yeah, that's right. So, but I need to manage the team, and I need to deliver the outcome. So, it's
What about between companies like Credit Suisse, Amro, German Bank? Because they've got certain internal cultures inside those banks based on the country of origin. What was challenging for you as a leader to operate in those different country cultures, I suppose? It's a bank culture, but that bank culture is built from the headquarters, basically, which is in a foreign country. So was there anything, did you notice something different between, Credit Suisse and then German bank and then, Dutch bank culturally in terms of how you had to behave as a leader?
Yes, I noted the difference of the culture. I don't know, based on the country or based on the specific company, but anyway, there are different cultures.
What was different?
It's not easy to explain because, I don't want to make it a stereotype, but the corporate culture is created by the member and of course, based on the home country or business model, whatever. But Credit Suisse as a U.S. investment bank, which is very performance-driven, and very severe appraisal, which is not good or not bad, but that's the reality. German bank, WestLB, it's more long-term sighted from my perspective.
Quite strategic.
Strategic, and they have a long-term strategy. Target client at that time, debt capital market first, Deutsche Mark denominated bond origination. It became EU Euro denominated bond. Then competition comes in, but they have a clear target, clear customer. So they don't want to spend the energy or resource outside the strategy, but the more long-term strategy. Credit Suisse and maybe other US bank at that time, regardless of the client, regardless of products, the outcome is very important rather than process or strategy or alliance to the colleagues or like that. That's my observation. And
so different from Japan.
Yes. Japan is, as you know, harmony is kind of a top priority.
Yep.
And the
long-term view, harmony and long-term view and teamwork and lifetime employment.
Yeah.
Not jumping out of the bank for more money somewhere else, right?
That's right. That's right.
Different concept, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So, there are difference of the culture, which I experienced. And I had to adjust myself to the different culture, different colleagues, which is, I learned through the interaction with the colleagues, my boss,
Now, how about your leadership style? Did you keep your fundamental Japanese-based leadership style, or did you have to change your leadership style to lead in those organizations?
I'm not sure, but my self-reflection is that I still keep my core Japanese leadership style. But
how would you describe that? How would you describe your core Japanese leadership style? What would that look like? So someone who didn't know, someone who had no idea what a core Japanese leadership style was, how would you explain that to them?
That is trust-based, long-term relationship. Even after I left LTCB for 3 decades ago, I still keep a human relationship with the seniors, juniors. So, not necessarily leadership. Japanese people keep a long-term human relationship. That is a top priority. So
it's always amazed me how well organized Japan is. You know, like sometimes you might go to an onsen or something, and there's this loud party going on next door, and you find out it's the primary school obikai, you know, the alumni having a get together.
Yeah.
Or it's the same at high school or university. And I think about Australia, how poorly organised we are for that type of activity. And I always admire Japan that you're very good at, keeping those connections down through the years. Tremendous, really.
That's right. Maybe it's a kind of a murashakai culture, village-based,
that's right.
community-based, culture.
Yeah.
So that's basic culture Japan has. We need to keep a human relationship steady and reliable. That's the priority.
And that applies in leadership too, obviously.
Yes.
So when you get to run you're the head of Amro, right, in Japan. You're the top guy, right? So now you've got it's a Dutch bank. What I've heard from other people is that who've worked in Dutch companies, that the Dutch management system is very direct. There's no vagueness about what someone thinks. They express their feelings and thoughts very clearly, and so sometimes can be quite direct and strong, maybe from a Japanese point of view. So, but you're the head. You're Japanese. You're the head of the bank. So, what are you doing? Are you becoming a little bit more direct as an influence from that style, or did you not go that way? You kept more of a Japanese, bit more vagueness about things and perhaps so directness that you'd have in that typical Dutch style? Or how did you bridge those two things? Because there's another extreme there, right?
First, at that time, there is a country CEO above me who was not Dutch, who was Dane. And the ABN AMRO was a very diverse culture and very inclusive, and which I was very proud of. And as you said, Dutch culture is very straightforward. And on the other hand, Japanese culture is very vague, no black and white.
Yeah. Everything's grey.
Yeah. So my role was a kind of an interpreter or translator. Of course, there is a big gap between Japanese culture and the Dutch culture. Dutch culture is straightforward, while Japanese culture is more vague and not crystal clear. I tried to interpret what is the must goal, must delivery, and how we can do it. So to lead the Japanese business team, I need to translate. What is a must and like that. And I half adjust to the Dutch culture, but my leadership remain unchanged.
So in that sense, when you're trying to get engagement with a team, they are obviously also raised in Japan, educated in Japan. They're dealing with this very direct culture themselves. It's very, okay, we're going to do this, and there's no nemoashi, we're going to do this. So how did you find that? Did you find that because you could understand both sides, that helped you to engage the team and they could look to you as someone who could help them to adjust to that different leadership style? Or did they see you as someone who basically, you'd sort of joined the Dutch side of things, and they were on the Japanese side, you sort of joined the Dutch side, you weren't really with them, but you were giving them a lot of pressure, to follow what the Dutch leaders want to do. How did you work that in terms of engagement? Yeah,
you pointed out the exact risk leadership may fall, and we need to make a good balance. And I think not only Dutch culture, but most of the non-Japanese culture is quite straightforward, which is a top-down decision-making process, which Japanese doesn't accommodate or accept.
So, tell me about the Japanese style of decision-making. If you're going to describe that to someone who didn't know Japan, what would you say about it?
I would say Japanese decision-making process is not just top-down, not just bottom-up. It's more consensus-driven or process-driven. Unless, most of the stakeholders engage and agree, they don't come out with the final decision. Which means...
So that means you have to, I guess you have to lobby with your colleagues to get them to agree. You might have different division heads, and each division has to be consulted. And if one division doesn't agree, nothing happens. Is that the idea?
Yes.
So you've got to go and convince them to agree then?
Either officially or unofficially.
Right. So what's how do you do it unofficially?
Unofficially, that some idea is shared, not final decision, and there are some voices arising, and the department heads on those division go to the outside company for drinking communication. Then try to sort out the noise or like that. So officially or unofficially, all the voice is sorted out or accommodated, and the final decision is made. Then official announcement is made by top guy, but all the process is done by bottom up or middle class consensus or like that.
So the CEO is basically rubber stamping a decision that's already been made at the division head level, and not actually making the decision themselves, I suppose. Is that the idea?
No. Make a direction, sensing the staff's atmosphere or sentiment, and what I would say, not top-down, mean that, even CEO or top guy doesn't make a final decision without a consensus of the others. So not just a rubber stamp guy, but pointing out the direction and the sorting out the atmosphere. So it plays a very important role for the visionary strategy or corporate culture. But on the other hand, no single person decision is made in Japanese organization. So I have been frequently asked by foreign leader that, I would approach that company. Who is the decision maker? Is that CEO like that? I can't say single person. You need to point out the key decision maker in the middle class or like that. So,
which is very confusing for Westerners, isn't it? It's like, as we have a very clear rank and status and hierarchy and power, and you can locate the decision maker, but in Japan, as you say, not so easy.
So I would say no single person decision making, but the multi-layer decision making. So I would suggest that you would start the entry point and you would engage with the multi-layers, communication.
So in your case, in say like Amro Bank, you've got Danish CEO, who I'm sure is quite direct, like the Dutch as well, being Western, and so you're trying to get a consensus of your Japanese colleagues. Is that the idea? So you've got sort of this very direct idea running things at the top. Are you trying to sort of marshal all the Japanese team members together to get behind the direction? How are you working that in your role?
Yeah, I manage the client coverage team, which most staff are Japanese, but there are non-Japanese staff, Singaporean, Indian, and the Chinese descendants like that. My role is that between top country CEO and the client team, I manage all the day-to-day activity or like that. Once in a while, of course, all the team is invited for the team meeting for the CEO, but I'm responsible for all the outcome from the team.
Right.
So that is.
So you're taking all the direct pressure.
That's right.
You're taking all the direct pressure, and then underneath you've got more of a harmony-based consensus situation going on. Is that how it works?
Yes. That's why I described that my role was a translator or interpreter. So what we delivered as a team, I translate nicely and report to the, of course, even though a very direct target is given from the top, there is a reality, of course. There is a can do or cannot do, and I can explain delivery, and I can explain when we can deliver like that. So then toward the downside to the team, I need to be a little bit give a pressure so that to manage the gap. So
a little bit more outcome oriented than perhaps what they're used to. So how long were you at Amro, and what was the next step after that? What was the company you went to after that?
ABN Amro, I joined the ABN Amro 2005.
Yeah.
Then 2008, there was a famous TOB, the three-bank consortium led by RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland, joined by Santander and the Fortis. Three-bank consortium acquired ABN Amro.
Right, okay.
So my bank was an acquiree.
Okay. So this is just before Lehman Shock or after Lehman Shock?
In 2008, and the integration was at 2009, so just after.
Just after, okay.
Yeah.
So 15th of September, we mark as the day of the Lehman Shock, right? So
that's right.
You're the year after that, okay?
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
So what happened then? Which entity took over?
ABN Amro Japan was taken over by RBS.
RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland.
Because all the overseas network ABN Amro had was taken over RBS. And the Santander just focused on the Latin business, which is Italy and Brazil. And then Fortis.
Santander, of course, is a big shareholder in Shinsei Bank, right? And yeah, like the circle in banking.
That's right.
The circle, right?
That's right. Yeah. And the Fortis just acquired Benelux and asset management. So ABN Amro Japan was acquired by RBS. RBS had a Japan office, so there is an overlapping.
Yeah.
We need to go through the painful business integration, and we need to give up one license and integrate it into one team.
Right.
That happened 2009. So it was a painful process because I had to let my staff go one by one because all the decision is made by RBS.
RBS.
Yeah.
Whoops.
And the actual business integration was July 2009.
Right.
And prior to that, after I let my staff go one by one, I was swapped to go to the RBS.
Oh, yourself, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so I moved to RBS office, and one senior guy came to ABN AMRO. You can imagine what the role will be. So then business integration completed July 2009, and then new chapter started. But because of the Lehman crisis, RBS received the capital injection from UK government.
That's right.
Which is more than 80% capital injection. So they are controlled by UK Treasury.
Yes.
to say.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of restrictions on the business and the high expectation of the return like that, which impacted every year. And then I had to move on. So then I moved to another German bank, Commerzbank. Commerzbank.
Okay, great.
Because I had to leave.
So what was your position in Commerzbank? What were you doing? Were you the head? Were you managing a division? What was your role there?
One of the senior relationship manager.
Senior relationship manager.
To cover corporate client.
Right.
Of course.
So you're back to, you're the translator, interpreter for the senior leadership with your predominantly, I guess, Japanese team or some maybe some foreigners, right? So a very similar role to what you're in before.
Yes, that's
what
right.
happened after? How long were you at Commerzbank?
Just 1 year.
1 year, okay. And then what happened?
Not intended to just short time, but I was given the opportunity, which was at Standard Chartered.
Yeah.
Which is
to come in as the head, to come in as the country head. Is that the job?
Country head of the client department.
Right. Okay.
So it's a much bigger role and a bigger organization.
Yep.
So I couldn't turn down, so I accepted.
Good choice to take it. Are you doing business with Japan? Do you really know how things work? Japan Business Mastery provides the answers. Do you have the right networks and know how to create them? Do you know how to get on the same wavelength with Japanese buyers? Do you know what being trustworthy looks like from the Japanese perspective? Japan Business Mastery is based on more than 30 years' experience in Japan and will become your go-to guide. Want to succeed in Japan? Buy Japan Business Mastery now. If you want to be successful as a leader, do the Leadership Training for Managers course. All companies need people who can both manage and lead. Leading people screams out for real skills in communication, dealing with all different types of people, being excellent at innovation, planning, delegation, handling mistakes, doing performance reviews really well, and inspiring and motivating the team. Do the Leadership Training for Managers course now in either Japanese or English. But when did you become the Chief Executive Officer? You know, you've got CEO on the card here. So how long did it take to go from entry point to becoming the responsible person?
I joined Standard Chartered December 2012. And as country head of the client department. Then 2 years later, the country CEO then, who was an American guy, reached retirement age, and he went back to US. So just maybe 7-9 months prior to that, regional CEO started to process of the successor selection, and I was nominated, and the external candidates was listed and the screened and the.
So it's quite a competitive process.
I don't know I don't have a whole picture, but he says so, and the.
Sounds like it.
And I was not expecting myself.
Okay.
To be honest, because I have been all the business head or business background. No experience about the country head management or governance, but I was appointed. So
it's interesting. One of the funny things about Japan, I say funny things because it's a bit unusual, is that often you talk to leaders here, foreign leaders here, and they recognize someone in their team who's doing a really good job. And in the Western mind, they want to give them a bigger job, promote them, give them more responsibility, let them work up in their career. And often they say, I don't understand it. When I suggested that they could step up into this new role, they said no, because they didn't think they were ready. They said, no, I need another 2 or 3 years of experience before I can do that, which is quite like, huh? Because in the Western context, they'd say, take it straight away, right? They'd never hesitate. So what about you? Have you become Westernized enough to say, I'm going to give it a go even though I don't have the experience? Or were you thinking, maybe I need another 3 years or something experience? What was going through your mind?
In your two categories, I would say I was on the Japanese side.
You were thinking, maybe I need more time, right?
Yeah, really? But the regional CEO at that time, convinced me that. And I thought
this is so different from the West, In the West,
I know
they wouldn't have a hesitation in a heartbeat. They'd say, "Yeah, pick me," And then I must imagine for the regional head, he thinks you're the one, and you're thinking, "Well, I'm not really sure I can do this. How's this going to work?" And they have to actually convince you to take the job. It's quite interesting.
Actually,
why is that? Why are Japanese hesitant to step up and take on more responsibility and progress their careers faster? What's driving that thinking?
I don't know actually, but just a genuine feeling, and the better to well prepared before taking a bigger responsibility.
Is that a risk reduction type of strategy? Like most people like to be very, very perfect in their job, make no mistakes, no errors, no defects. And so until they feel they've got that perfect state, maybe they're not ready to go anywhere. I guess, is that part of it? Because we know there's a big risk aversion in the culture here.
Possibly, because I heard a similar story from the other country top in the other foreign financial institution, Japanese top guy. That's I felt a risk to take this role. Maybe 1 year or 2 years later, because I was not qualified and I would be kicked out or like that. So that kind of mentality is maybe common for Japanese.
So how did the regional head convince you? How did he put it to you that you thought, well, I'll take the risk?
Actually, story was like this. At the beginning of the process, regional CEO, which I knew through the Asia Management Committee or like that, he called me and he wanted to nominate me in the one of the candidate. And as a courtesy, I reported my boss, regional business head. And the regional business head said that, okay, no problem, but you should not expect to be appointed like that.
Oh, that's very discouraging.
No. It's a very honest, remark I felt. And he because he didn't want to lose me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I moved on to the CEO,
Yep.
he need to find the
somebody else.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess today in the matrix type of organization, where
Yes.
you've got people in your team reporting direct line, maybe dotted line to you.
Exactly.
Outside of the country. It's a much more complex construct than we've ever had in the past, I think. And we've had matrix for a long time now. So, yes, I can imagine. No, stay right where you are. You're doing a great job, I love you. Don't leave. Right?
Yeah, that's right. And of course, he can't stop the nomination,
No.
which was directed by regional CEO. But, so I didn't expect myself with that kind of remark as well. And afterwards, regional CEO said that there were 20 candidates internally or externally.
20 candidates, that's huge.
And when I hesitated to take up the role, regional CEO convinced me, then if you turn down, we need to go to the external candidate, which he didn't want.
So you were the best internal candidate.
Possibly.
They had to then take some from outside, which is a lot more difficult and risky. Yeah.
And I had to think about that become a CEO, which is a risk for me personally. And the other risk is to stay the business head. And there is an external CEO coming in.
That's another risk,
reporting.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Everywhere you look, it's risk.
Risk is an important factor.
Well, that's banking, right? Banking is dealing with risk, isn't it?
Yeah, not all, but risk is a key factor.
Managing risk.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you became CEO. And when you became CEO, what were some of the challenges you found? Okay, you've now been a colleague, and consensus and Japanese, relationships and all this sort of thing. And there's probably people who've been in the bank longer than you, and now you go up and you become the CEO. So how did you start as a CEO? What was your thinking or your strategy? I'm now the new CEO. How am I going to approach this? What was going through your mind then?
First, I've been with the Standard Chartered for 2 years already, so I knew all the staff, and so I knew people. So I didn't want to change my style. I wanted to be just genuine, and my core style is that open and fairness, which I believe the foundation of their trust and So also communication is important. So that, those are the key things I wanted to pay attention. But there are many challenges.
Like what?
Time management.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're much busier.
Much busier. So many things brought up to me, and I need to prioritize. I need to make a time allocation clearly. Otherwise, I may miss the big decision making. So prioritization is one important thing.
And I'm guessing that in Western organizations, the expectation on speed of decision-making is a little bit different to a Japanese organization, where they know you've got to get the nemawashi going and get the consensus building, and they know that's going to take some time. Whereas in a Western business sense, it's all about fast decision-making. Someone takes accountability, someone takes responsibility, someone puts their name down to take the decision. And then, they live or die based on that decision, but it's done quickly. So how did you manage that sort of slower Japanese-style consensus, getting around behind something with that Western drive for speed of decision-making?
Of course, big difference between the speed of the decision-making and I would say Standard Chartered is not typical Western style. Japan belongs to the region called Greater China and North Asia, which Chinese, Japanese, Korean dominate. Of course, as a group, we are UK bank, so there are clear targets we need to deliver. But on the other hand, to some extent, the process is empowered to the region and the country and of course, from time to time, we need to make a very painful decision, live or die on the change staff or like that. But pretty much, outcome driven, meaning that we communicate with the region, what is the best process appropriate in the local culture, like that. Not only Japan, but Korea has its own culture, especially about the labor employment system. So we are, pretty much locally empowered and also, to take appropriate process for the local culture.
So in your experience, in leading in Japan particularly, what have you found that works very well to get creativity from the team? Because, we are only one person. We can be very smart, we can be very creative ourselves, but we're only one person. We may be missing other opportunities, and often when you get to the top, you don't touch the customer anymore. The first thing I noticed when I got promoted to leader was, I'd be in meetings with my team, they'd be talking about customers, have no idea what they're talking about because I'm no longer having those conversations, I'm doing something else. And you feel you're getting away from the gemba, you're getting away from the sort of the coalface a bit here. And you're thinking, oh, wow, I'm not really understanding the clients anymore because I'm doing a different job. So we rely on the teams who are at that radar and touch points to get ideas and to see opportunities and to feed those up. So what did you find was good for getting good ideas from the team? What has worked for you?
Yeah, I fully agree with you that, becoming the top guy, distance from the ground is getting longer and longer. Yeah. So we lose a feeling of the ground. Come to the creativity. Of course, I feel a lot of a gap, especially generation gap, millennium generation or Generation Z. So I try to encourage staff to come out, and I try to create the atmosphere, which is a psychological safety. So
that's a popular word.
Yeah.
In the last, but the last probably year or a year and a half, suddenly psychological safety, or maybe it's 2 years, it suddenly popped up in the vocabulary of everyone, hasn't it?
That's right.
But it's a very important thing. I mean, that idea of psychological safety is now really critical, isn't it, for everyone?
Maybe I can share one sample case in my organization. We worked on the creation of the country vision last year, and we are not too big organization, roughly 140 staff or like that. But we spent a huge time about the process of the creation of the country vision, because just after I became a country CEO, we made a country vision just among the country management team, which is kind of a top-down. But it was not familiarized. It was not popular. It was just put on the shelf or like that. So it's not living documents. So by reflecting that experience, we studied a very carefully designed process so that to invite some representative from the team, relatively junior or some proactive person, and the cross-departmental discussion we set. And only at the beginning of the discussion, I showed up and I explained the context, I explained the target, I explained the benefit to having a country vision, so that they don't feel just forced to make a country vision like that. So amazingly, the discussion was so proactive, interactive. If I was there, maybe we were silent, possibly.
Because of Why? Why would they be silent? They're here to come up with a vision. That's the task. You've given them the guidance. Why would your presence in the room be restricting them for working on that?
Because if I was presenting in the meeting, they may think that if I say this one, it will be taken like this. It will be regarded as a resistance or like that. So there may be a potential fear, and so that at the beginning of the my briefing, I said that all the voice is anonymous. So please, come out and there is some facilitator, one of the country management team, just a note taker, and so that people feel safe and the people voice out. Maybe you or many foreign leader experience that in Japanese classroom or in seminar, no question raised.
Questions,
But if one guy raised a question, then follower comes in. That's a typical sentiment Japanese has.
So when we're teaching people presentation skills, and it's in my book, Japan Presentations Master, I gave you there, we talk about, in Japan particularly, when you don't get any questions, you have to have your own question. A question I'm often asked is, and then you answer your own question, you say, who has the next question? And invariably, people will put up their hand, even though you posed your own question, answered your own question, somehow they feel happier that they didn't have to do the first question, and then you get a bunch of questions. It's quite interesting. So
that's right.
Yeah.
So Japanese people have their own opinion, insight. If there is some atmosphere, psychological safety, or just to be a follower or whatever, then those voices come out proactively. So back to the country vision creation. So we engaged relatively junior guy, and then we consolidate all the voices. Keyword, what is the direction, what is a common interest, or like that. Then country management team discussed about what is a priority or like that, and we came up with the final idea, and then we have the town hall, so that different from the previous country vision, it is relatively owned by the staff.
Yes. Ownership's critical, isn't it?
So that's engagement.
There. That's good. And what about trust? You talked a little bit before about trust, transparency, openness, that type of thing. How do you build trust? What have you found works well with a Japanese team building trust?
Again, as I said, the openness and the fairness would be a foundation of the trust. And the trust is not just a one-way direction. Trust is relationship. So communication is also very important. Trust is based on the expectation that he can listen to me. He will deliver what I asked or like that. So openness, fairness, and the communication is very important. That's my core belief.
So if we were thinking about building a culture, trying to create an internal culture in an organization, what have you found works well in building culture inside organizations?
I'm not sure I've been successful or not, to be honest.
What did you try? What have you had a go at? What have you tried?
I have been trying to break down the silo. I think every organization, there may be a silo or, division thinking or territorial battle, whatever. What I've been trying to create a good culture.
How do you break down the silos, though? How do you do that? How do you break down those silos?
First, try to provide the opportunity for interacting the cross-department business. So D&I activity or volunteer activity is one of the things. of course.
So D&I activity there means what?
Diversity
and
inclusion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
On top of the assigned tasks each staff has, we are driving the diversity and the inclusion across the organization.
Right.
So as a country CEO, I have been driving the various events or activity for diversity and inclusion. International Women's Day. We have our internal webinar inviting the female leader from outside, overseas or like that. And they also, Mental Health Day. We have the webinar. What is the challenge during the COVID-19 period?
Absolutely.
So that is outside the assigned task.
Right.
So everybody can join and try to engage. And of course, we have a D&I council in Japan. We try to set up the diversified member across the business and the function like that. So this is a kind of a inter-department activity so that people can interact colleagues outside the department. And the last 2 years, we couldn't hold the many events, but we have been supporting the eye handicapped runner. We are hosting the charity run for more than 10 years.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so the staff are encouraged to join and to support. Nice. So it's half like a picnic.
Yes.
Yeah, running with eye handicapped people like that. So one is that kind of a interdepartmental activity. And
if we, with all your vast experience, leading in Japan, if a foreign executive was being sent to Japan, told you, okay, you go to Japan, you're going to run our operation in Japan, what would be some pieces of advice you'd give them to help them be successful running an organization in Japan?
Maybe first, adapt yourself to Japanese culture. And of course, core leadership style does need to change. But how Japanese people react like this, no response, pure silence, you need to understand, or adapt. Another advice is a little bit patient. Communication style is very different between Japanese and the non-Japanese. But of course, inside mind, Japanese people have their own voice and like that. So new leader need to create the atmosphere so that he can listen to the voice and communicate. And also, as you mentioned, speed is different. So you need to be a little bit patient.
Yes. Should they learn Japanese?
Language is not critical, I would say. Of course, language barrier is one of the things. It would be nicer if you can overcome. But it's just a communication tool. I would say not just a language, Japanese language, but you can communicate genuine word, English or body language or facial expression, whatever. So no need to learn Japanese, and it takes a long time.
It does, and I'm still working on it myself after 36 years here. So finally, what's your definition of leadership?
Many way, but maybe setting a direction for the organization and the not top down and the support, encourage for the benefits of the entire organization. So empathy, curiosity is a key element to set the future vision, and also a good relationship with the organization member is very important. Based on that, role of the leadership is to create the brighter future for the organization.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Fascinating to hear your career and your different insights. I appreciate joining me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Very honored to be here.
Thank you
very much.
So join us again for our next episode of Japan's top business interviews.